Hello there. Over the last few weeks, my husband and I and our little cat have been in the position where we have to move. Now, I'm sure you have been through this experience yourself. Moving can be somewhat stressful. We naturally feel a level of insecurity when we don't know where we're going. And especially if you're in the rental market, which we are in an area of Australia that is currently in flux. It's absolutely in demand. Everybody wants to move here. Beautiful part of Australia, coastal town. And so what we've found is that even compared to a couple of years ago, everybody is coming to inspections, like 20, 30 people. They max out, they actually fill up very quickly. People are putting applications in multiple times at once. People are applying before they've even looked at a place. The rent has gone up exponentially very, very quickly. And so I believe that there's a lot of pain and suffering going on right now in terms of finding sanctuary, finding a refuge and a home that you can call yours, especially in Australia, for people renting. What I found was that I entrained with the same kind of anxieties. I caught the bug, if you like, for a little bit. Now, I have been in this experience of moving my whole life. I've not had an ordinary life, if you like, in terms of living arrangements. I've moved around probably more than 40, 50 times now. It was just the way I grew up, and it's become the way of life for me now. And I enjoy it. There are elements of moving that are exciting and adventurous and satisfy curiosity and change and growth and create new energies in your life as well. And so I absolutely love moving, but what I don't love is the stress, the anxiety, and the uncertainty. And this is only kind of new in the rental market on where I live in Australia, this immense uncertainty. Are you actually going to be able to find a place within your budget in competition with 30, 40 other applicants? And that can be stressful. And so the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I believe this is a wonderful lesson that we can learn in moving from the old way of being, the three-dimensional way of seeing the world through our lens of perception of the external forces that are out there, controlling us, if you like, directing our life in trajectories out of our control. And this idea that we are a product of our environment and we are thrown around by these external forces. So that's the old three-dimensional idea, this idea of competition, versus the new way of being, which I think many of us are beginning to embrace and understand a little bit more, versus this idea of flow. What is flow? Flow is letting go and surrendering all of your old control mechanisms, these ideas that you have control. The small self, the ego and the body and the mind has control over the direction of your life, that you have to, through your small self, stay in control. And you have to have all your ducks lined up, cross all your T's, dot all your I's. And you have to be in control and in charge, and you have to plan and strategize, and you have to constantly be looking ahead in your life to be able to navigate all the uncertainties that could come your way, so that you feel in control at all times and you have a sense of security. I'm sure you can relate to that, because this has been the way that we've been brought up in our culture. We've been brought up to think this is the only way. This is not the only way, okay? This is a very limited option that we are starting to see is not the only way. In fact, it's in my opinion, the way towards continued pain and suffering. Now, when you live in that way of life, you will go to addictions. You will go to external comforts, entertainment, food, alcohol, play that causes imbalance in your life. You will be constantly seeking external satiation, but you never get that. You never feel fulfilled. And that's what causes the suffering, right? So the way of the flow, and in Taoism, this is the general philosophy of Taoism, is to be like water. There are no obstacles when you understand the nature of water. Water will always find a way to continue to flow around obstacles. And so this is the way of the flow, the way to move into higher levels of perception and understanding of how the principles of the universe or our reality actually operate. They are far more diverse and multidimensional than we've been led to believe. And so getting back to me and my story about renting. Now, for me, there was this kind of dance of reverting back to the old way of applying for lots of places, spending my nights worrying, waking up in the middle of the night going, oh no, I've got 4 weeks left and we haven't got a place, and everybody's looking, and looking at scarcity, this idea of scarcity and competition as an actual construct that will affect me, and thinking that that was real and that will affect me, okay? And then dancing this fine line between the flow and the things and the ways that I've been practicing to be, the new ways of being, the ways of total surrender, of letting go and letting God, of trust and faith, of faith in something, a force that maybe I don't completely understand, but I know it works because I've tried and tested this for many, many different areas of my life and found amazing, miraculous, if you like, results. And so I needed to find this strength in totally leaning into the flow in my life the last couple of weeks, and just allowing those anxieties to be released. Anxiety is a fear of the future. That's a simple way of looking at anxiety. It's a fear of the future. We all have, in when we live a typical three-dimensional life, anxieties, because we're taught to plan and prep for the future, to live in this now moment with our head in the future, which is an illusion, okay? So letting go of the illusion of time and recognizing that the Tao, or the way, is simply to trust and let go, to allow the flow of life, the natural flow of life, to take hold and lead you to a place that is in alignment. Now, before you can be sure that you are in flow, you need to be in your heart. So this is the one thing that I had to remind myself over and over until it's become, and I'm still a work in progress, but become my core philosophy, and that is to be still. Now in the Bible, it says, be still and know that I am God. You can put that in your own language. Linguistics is very limiting. But the principle is that when we are still, we start to understand the nature of our true selves, of pure loving awareness. There are no obstacles to pure loving awareness. There's only unity, oneness, love, bliss. What do you find for people whose lives seem to be always in this joyous state of bliss? Everything seems to flow. And that's no coincidence, okay? There is absolutely a principle behind why these people's lives flow, and that's because they empty their mind. So to be still means to empty the mind. Where are we when we have an empty mind? We're down here in the heart, okay? So we're remembering that the heart has an electromagnetic field around it that is up to 5,000 times stronger than that of the brain, the mind. So we are going to be greatly benefited, of great benefit, when we live down here in the heart. The heart is the seat of the soul. The heart is the direct connection to wisdom, intuition, guidance, and intelligence. The heart will take us into the place that's outside space and time, outside the simulation, outside the three-dimensional life, outside the effect of external forces in this reality. Okay, when we live in our heart, we can expect miracles. We can expect magic. I'm doing this because this is a phenomenon that can be explained. And maybe science hasn't caught up yet, but we're getting there. And one day I hope that we will be able to understand that in our lifetimes. It would be lovely to be able to explain this and teach this as a teachable in a textbook. But until then, I believe it is our duty to demonstrate this to others, to demonstrate what living in the flow is, what living in the heart is. And so what I found was when we live in the flow, we don't go quantity over quality. Okay, no more quantity. Quantity is competition and scarcity mode. So when it comes to renting, I put one single application in. Now I'm aware that there's scarcity right now, and I'm aware that there's a lot of competition, but these are programs that operate only in the three-dimensional model. So I decided to step out of that because this is part of my practice, my journey, my spiritual journey. I've been kind of instigating into my life for a while now. And I knew that this was a big one for me. This was a big practice for me to really have faith in the flow, in the grace of flow, moving house. And so rather than quantity, applying for heaps and heaps of places, I decided to apply for one place that felt completely aligned, that lined up with the requirements that my husband and I had for our next sanctuary. The sanctuary had an energy behind it, this manifested entity, if you like, that we created together before we started looking. We sat down and decided what our sanctuary would look like, what it would feel like. We did not look at the evidence in the external world of what we need, of how we would form what we were looking for. We simply went from pure seed of creativity. Not scarcity, not competition, not what was out there, okay? And this, I believe, is the principle we need to apply in our lives across all areas. Okay? We go within from the creative seed of the heart. We don't go without looking at how we can fit into the external world. And so one application, and we got it. We didn't even inspect the property. We missed the inspection accidentally. And we still got it. And I believe this is divine. I believe this is part of the flow. And I believe that these things happen when we learn to be still and know that I am God. God, source, the divine, whatever you want to linguistically term, what works for you, the universe. But understanding there is a flow and a natural order of things when we operate with these new higher principles and understanding, not limited by our programming of materialism, competition. That is false. That's going to keep us small and in suffering. So this is really just a personal experience I wanted to share to encourage you to not live in the old paradigm of programming, to move outside of that, to direct your life in a direction that is not to do with any influence or comparison or competition from the external world, but is purely from a seed of your heart, from that passion of your heart, from that incredible feeling of fulfillment and alignment when you follow your own heart. And you do not see any obstacles. You flow like water with that trust. And this is the thing I had to keep reminding myself. The old monkey mind wanted to keep churning, marinating on it, grinding on it, overanalyzing how time was running and how I felt that insecurity creeping in, that I might not have a home, okay? And I had to keep reminding myself, be still, empty the mind, empty the mind. So I would encourage you, empty your mind, move down to your heart. When we overthink, we underfeel. Feel love, gratitude, appreciation, and compassion. Feel that. Spend your days within this field, the heart field. Make it a new way of being. Allow it to show you the flow that is your birthright. You are far more than you've been led to believe, that you've been educated, that you've been programmed. You are far greater and more beautiful. You are a multi-dimensional being having a human experience. So you too can also live a life of flow outside of the old paradigm. So I would encourage you to look into Taoism. It's a beautiful philosophy and it fully aligns with my direct experience in life. And enjoy the process as you experiment with this concept and see that it does work. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So have a beautiful day. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. See you later.